I want to say yes to allowing yourself to be found. Yes to admitting shame and where there's nothing left but joy. Yes to spilling light down every darkened hallway. Yes to singing to empty rooms full again and being found. Yes, Cameron, to you and your love, your joy, and your resilience. Thank you. And on that note, good morning, everyone. Oops, I think we did something a little bit out of order, but that's okay. It's all right. My name is Yvette McDonnell, and I am the Congregational Life Coordinator here at MLUC, and I am so excited to be here with all of you today. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to our friends that are joining us online. Thank you for being here with us. And it is always an honor and pleasure to be here, and I sincerely thank everyone who helped make today's service what it is, from the amazing music, thank you so much, the AV crew, and the wonderful greeters, ushers, and worship associates today. And of course, to all of you for showing up time and time again as a virtual. And thank you to you who are online for joining us. I was not sure how I was going to start today's sermon. Life has been very full. It's been a lot. But then I remembered that honesty is always one powerful tool that we can always use. So to speak about acts of resistance, to speak about rituals of poetry and music without acknowledging, as we know it, the unraveling of democracy. The raveling of democracy is happening so fast, it's really hard to keep up. And I also have been having a little bit of an internal conflict with myself. Should I stand up here and use I statements? Should I use we, us, our, as there's a dumpster fire happening? So please bear with me, because I don't want to make assumptions, but then there's a piece of me that feels like we are all in this together. So I will be using I, we, us, collectively, interchangeably today. I'm assuming, and I'm just assuming, that all of us are bearing witness to the horrific events that challenge our emotional and our cognitive well-beings, excuse me, daily. From the dismantling of critical institutions, the unjust constitutional treatment of US citizens that have been detained, to those who've been kidnapped off the streets in broad daylight. Those people are here illegally. And let's not forget about the dismantling of the federal diversity, equity, inclusion programs that have weaponized civil rights and have reversed laws that took decades to build to protect women, people of color, and other marginalized communities. And of the most recent news, but it's not so recent because something else we just found out has happened today, but as of a couple days ago, the most recent news, the man who shall not be named signed an executive order restoring truth and sanity to American history. Yeah, go ahead, say it. It's okay, say it. Amen. The goal, according to the White House, is to revitalize key cultural institutions and reverse the spread of divisive ideology. Please, right? That is just white supremacy code for we want to re-whitewash history to, according to the National Public Radio, that's going to be focusing on the Smithsonian Institution, a vast collection of research centers, museums, galleries, including the Air and Space Museum and the American Art Museum, and the monuments and memorials overseen by the Department of Interior. What we are experiencing now is called retrenchment. Have you all ever heard this word before? Yeah. So according to Dana E. Crawford, retrenchment refers to the reduction or reversal of progress made in racial equity and civil rights. It involves dismantling, tearing apart, weakening of policies, practices, laws, and societal norms that have been established through hard work, and often the sacrifice of historically marginalized people and their allies. These efforts were made in the pursuit of equity and justice for all. We, us collectively need to resist the retrenchment that is taking place in our country right now. But how do we begin to have the strength to resist when our sympathetic nervous systems are working overtime? Okay. The Cleveland Clinic says our sympathetic nervous systems are a part of our automatic nervous system. It can also be referred to fight or flight. Have you ever heard that before? Which happens when we perceive something to be mentally or physically terrifying and dangerous. The dumpster fire that we bear witness to multiple times a day is affecting our stress levels. It is disrupting our sleep. Making assumptions here, I don't know. It is creating a heightened sense of anxiety, and it is taking tolls on our bodies. It was designed, the man who shall not be named. It's part of their plan. And I'm not going to stand up here and doom talk about all the things that are happening in our country and our world right now. But that's not why I'm here, right? I'm here to talk about acts of resilience, resistance, and building resilience through daily rituals, through poetry, through music, and through love. And at the core of my DNA, now this is where I'm going to use I statements. At the core of my DNA lies this powerful balance between acts of resistance and resilience. Through the vibrant expressions of rituals and poetry and music, I personally am able to navigate survival while building opportunities to thrive. It's the and the both. It is in this liminal space that I have the strength and ability to forge a path of courage and determination day in and day out while the world is crumbling around me. So you might be wondering how I'm doing that, okay? And it may come to a little bit of a surprise to you. I am not, nor have I been shocked by anything that the current administration is doing right now. Okay? This is because I am the descendant of those who were forcibly captured and thrust into the horrors of bondage. My lineage is marked by resilience of a people who endured the unimaginable suffering in this country. I come from a people who survived the Middle Passage. They were tortured, they were beat, they were raped, and they were put to death. I am the descendant of those whose names were forcibly erased and their family bonds were shattered and torn apart, and they were commodified and dehumanized because they were not seen as anything more than mere chattel. So I'm not surprised what's happening right now. I come from a people whose religious and spiritual practices were outlawed. And when the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, known as the Reconstruction Amendments, were ratified after the Civil War to address slavery and to ensure equal rights for those who were formerly enslaved, that did not prevent the Black Codes. That did not prevent Jim Crow. It did not prevent redlining. It did not prevent the thousands of lynchings of Black and brown bodies, such as Emmett Till, or the killing of Trayvon Martin, Philando Castile, Sandra Bland, Breonna Taylor, and or George Floyd. So I am not surprised what is happening right now. I am not surprised that people who have legal status in this country have been kidnapped in broad daylight. I'm not surprised. Did you know that Black people in the United States, and I'm only going to speak, I'm speaking for myself, okay? I'm speaking from my experience. Did you know that Black people in the United States live with chronic post-traumatic stress disorder? Have you ever heard of epigenetics? Epigenetics have shown how specific structures in our DNA can be altered by trauma experienced by parents and even those of their ancestors. And according to Dr. Joy DeGruy, decades of oppression, starting with slavery, leading to even more decades of discrimination and social injustice, much of which still persists today, results in feelings of fear and mistrust. See, this is why I'm not surprised. I wasn't surprised the first time, and I'm not surprised now. We are not only battling the inequality that we face as a society, but the inequality of my ancestors faced centuries or decades ago. Epigenetics specifically isn't just about Black people, but it really talks to human beings across the world and what happens when you survive trauma, generation and generation, particularly when a group of people have been oppressed. So even though I'm not surprised by all the horrific things that are unfolding daily, I'm still feeling the effects of them, okay? So I'm not surprised, but I still feel it in my heart and in my body every single day when I turn on the news, when I'm scrolling through Facebook or Instagram. Because what is happening now, it's not normal. It's not normal. What is happening now is meant to further divide us. What is happening now is meant to stop us in our tracks with fear. But I'm not afraid. I'm going to say that again. But I'm not afraid. Amen. What is happening now is meant to cause disruption to our nervous systems. It's meant to dysregulate us, to trigger us constantly. So in the midst of all this, how on earth do I find ways to create and maintain acts of resistance, resilience through daily ritual of poetry and music? The same way my ancestors did. They faced profound challenges and trauma, and they also found ways to create joy. And that joy, just like that trauma, is woven into my DNA. Their resilience shines through the rich cultural expressions. They took their pain and turned it into hope through soulful melodies of African spirituals that can still be traced or seen today in modern music. They had the warmth of soul food, and we continuously show our artistry. It was shown during the Harlem Renaissance that emerged even during the face of adversity, when people were making the great migration north to escape Jim Crow. They found hope in their creativity and in the words and in the music, like jazz. We find creativity through the expressions of our hairstyles, our language, and our fashion. We have defied the limitations that were imposed upon us. And none of this would be possible without the profound act of cultivating rituals of self-love. That's the key, self-love. Pouring love into your own cup first only allows you to then give it away to others. Self-love is not selfish. Self-love is not a luxury. It is a necessary act of resistance and liberation. It is an essential practice that allows us to breathe freely. It allows us to rest without guilt and to find peace amidst the noise of chaos. Have the courage and have the audacity to self-love. Have the courage and the audacity to fill your heart with joy during these times. Laugh. Read a good book. Read some poetry, listen to music, spend time being playful. Run in the rain, splash in the puddles, find a coloring book, and just color away. Paint. Self-love is when you can savor the warmth of a cup of tea or coffee with a friend. Go saunter and frolic in nature. Dance as though nobody is watching. Create boundaries for your self-love. And say no when things become too much, and let that be a complete sentence. No explanations needed. Adore yourself. Okay. Treat yourself. See, these are the things that I pour into my cup daily. This is how I'm able to then give back to the community that I serve. The act of self-love is not just for you. It's not just for you. It's for your partner. It's for your children. It's for your neighbors. It's for the person that you are sitting next to right now. It is for the folks that are joining us online. It is for the stranger that you pass in the supermarket and the friend that you have yet to meet. Center love. Our UU values have what at the center? Love. So can you center yourself, even if it's just one time a day? Can you center yourself and fill your cup up as an act of resistance, an act of liberation, so you can fill your cup, so you will be resilient, so you can then have the strength that you need, because we're going to need it, to serve your communities when called. So at this moment, I would like to invite you all to take that little index card that you grabbed when you came in. Does everybody have one? It should look something like this. Okay. If you don't have one, the ushers have some in the back. If you need one, please raise your hand. I would like to invite each and every one of you to just take a moment. And I want you to write something inspirational on this card. It can be a word, it can be a phrase, it could be a poem even, a song, something that brings you joy. It doesn't have to be much. Just jot it down on this piece of paper. Don't address it to anybody, but I do want you to sign your name. With love, from, warmly, kindly. And then we're just going to hold on to this just for a moment. So let's just take maybe 3 minutes or so to jot something down. Some moments of joy, acts of resistance, something that is filled with love. All right. Thank you for taking the time. We have just performed an act of resistance. I will share, before we head out, what we're going to do with these cards in a bit. But I want you to know that we are not free until all of us are free. That my survival is dependent upon you, and your survival is dependent upon me. Beloved friends, we must recognize that our freedom is intertwined. That in order for us to survive and thrive throughout the next 4 years and beyond, we must remember we are not free until we are all free. We are not free until we are not free until as we journey toward radical self-love, it is essential to embrace ourselves fully, enabling us to extend that love to others in their time of need. And as we prepare to leave today, I invite you to take this index card that you wrote on, and I want you to give it as a gift to somebody else in this congregation. And those of you who are joining us online, don't forget, we have not forgotten about you. So if you want a card, please send us an email. You can find our email address online, and we will make sure that you get a card of inspiration, of love, an act of resistance, so you can be resilient. Let these cards serve as a sign of love, as a reminder that you are cherished and that you are a vital person in this world and that your existence is important, and I need you to survive. I want to close today with a short poem that I found on Instagram. And in honor of International Trans Visibility Day tomorrow, I will not be naming the author of this short poem because of their safety and keeping their safety in mind, but their words are still important. Trans people are from the future, the one where we actually survive. Amen, ashe, and may it be so.